beautiful souls. We are in for such a massive treat. I truly cannot wait to dig in with this woman, Dana Grant. She is an international master life and business coach. She hosts global retreats. She's a keynote speaker. She's the co-founder of Cauliflower Foods. And what I think is so exciting is that she is Chico's Entrepreneur of 2017 and 2018, which is wild because I went to Chico State.
I know.
Her daughters went to Chico State. There's so much overlap. And there's something in the water out there. I mean, it breeds incredible entrepreneurs, which I love. We'll get into that.
Yeah.
And what I really love is she is so dialed into her intuition. So as she built her own business, she really tapped into her intuition, and she teaches other women how to do that as well. So I can't wait to dig in with you, Dana. This is going to be so much fun. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you. I've been looking so forward to this. We're
Me
so
too.
like-minded, and I'm like,
Yes.
yeah. So thank you for having me. Yeah.
Of course. I mean, is there something in the water in Chico or what? Like, I'm telling you.
It does kick out. You know, Grow
Doesn't
Tech
it?
Fest, which happens every year now by
Yeah.
Chico. I was on their panel, I want to say 2018.
Yeah.
And you think about, the big companies that have come out of there,
Yeah.
including, the brewery, Sierra Nevada.
Yes, Sierra
who's
Nevada.
I was going to say
Yes.
here, but it's South Carolina or North Carolina, their
yeah.
second location.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is pretty remarkable.
Yes,
And Grow
it
Tech it hosts for new entrepreneurs because
Yeah.
it's such an entrepreneurial space that supports so much.
Yes.
And I'm a mentor at Chico State for
Yes, which I
entrepreneurs,
love.
just because
Yeah,
they need that kind of
they do.
support.
Absolutely. And to follow in the footsteps of someone who's kind of failed and done all the things that worked. And you know what I mean? That's what I think
Yeah.
is so powerful about you.
Yeah.
Like in getting to know you, I feel like you're just an open book. Like you're like, look, I have reached a really high level of success, but I'm going to be honest about the places where, I learned and I grew. And I think that's so powerful because I think sometimes we'll put, people on a pedestal and be like, oh, I'm never going to make that kind of money. I'm never
Yeah.
going to have that kind of success. But true mentorship is like, let's like open the kimono. Let's just talk about it. Like, let's just really get into like the truth of the hard stuff and the nitty gritty. I think it's so,
I was
there's so
just going
much
to say the
power in
nitty gritty,
that.
and you took the words. Yeah,
Yeah.
because it's not the high reels.
Yes, right.
We see that out there. And I
Mhm.
think I was just talking today about the behind the scenes, the work that
Yes.
it takes
Yeah.
to do, and the consistency
Yeah.
and the internal work, the
Yes.
dialogue
Yeah.
that creates a success, not
Yes.
just, and that in return is how we show up in what we do.
Yes, I totally agree.
Yeah.
And, I would love to talk about business in 3 different phases.
Okay.
We think about the ideation phase. Like when you first had this spark to be like, I think I want to be an entrepreneur and I think I want to start to go after what it is that I desire. And like, what did it take from you to start to really lean into, you had this idea and you started to really like lean into it. But I'm sure there was some inner dialogue that was like, should I do this? Should I not? How did you go from idea to now you've got a business? What did that kind of look like for you?
It was an evolution, and I never really regretted any of it. I just knew beyond I just knew.
Yeah.
There was nothing else that it was going to stop me.
Yeah.
I didn't know the how, the why. I just, I was devoted to
Yeah.
this is knowing. I just knew
Mhm.
this is where I'm meant to be.
Yes. Yeah. So that deep sense of knowing,
Yeah.
I think that's so powerful. And I think sometimes people have a hard time connecting to their sense of knowing. Could you describe what that feels like or how you start to get in tune with your intuition? Because I think sometimes people are like, is that my ego? Is that my heart? Like, I know you've
Right.
got that powerful distinction between like the ego and the heart. Can you
Yeah.
share with us more about that?
Sure. Well,
Yeah.
the ego wants to divide and separate and judge this journey.
Yeah.
And the heart just wants to expand and
Yeah.
embrace. And it's the all knowing, and
Yes.
it's connected to source.
Yeah.
The ego is not connected to anything but protection and
Yes.
armor
Yeah.
and stories that we've created along the way. Perhaps we've, come from a story of lack and scarcity, or perhaps we don't believe at some point because we've heard a story that we
Yeah.
can't do it. So we repeat that. So anytime we come up and rub up against that terror barrier of something that's scary, we're right back into, I told you shouldn't have done this. This is never going to
Right.
work. And it's just that big, and the loop can get bigger and bigger because
Yeah.
95% of our life is stories.
Yes.
The truth is we've never been here before,
Mm.
and that abundance lives in this infinite possibility
Ooh.
that we haven't even stepped into yet.
Yes.
So I always say we're married to the process, divorce the outcome. The outcome will stop you.
Ooh, I really like that.
Yeah.
So that's beautiful. So leaning into that process versus like being married to the outcome.
Yeah.
because it's going to be that or something better. I can't tell
Yeah.
you how many times in
That
my
or something
life,
better. Yeah.
yes, how many times in my business where I'm like, I want
Yeah.
it to be this way. I wish it would turn out this way. And
Yeah.
then I'm like, I'm so glad it didn't turn out that way because this is so much better,
This is
This is
exactly.
it. This is
But
so good.
but you
Yeah.
can't tell people that,
You can't. Yeah.
because
Yeah.
they're, perhaps they've got a safety wound or perhaps
Yes.
they've got a story around
Yeah.
that. So they show up in the world and they create that
Mm.
self-fulfilled prophecy.
Yes.
And they don't understand why they're doing everything. And I'm manifesting
Yes.
and I'm writing in my
Yeah.
but they've not let go of the core
Yeah.
belief that it's never going to happen
Right.
or certainly not happen to them.
Mm.
So
Mm.
it's huge.
It's huge. And how do you help people let go of that core belief? Like, do you have a process or an exercise? Or I'm sure it's different from person to person. I'm sure
Yeah.
you really tap into your intuition and you're like,
Yeah.
here's how we're going to break through it with this person.
Yeah.
But is there something that you see that tends to help people break through that?
Everybody, you're right. Everybody is different. This is why I really adore one-on-one work.
Yes, me too.
Because, people
So
show up
good.
and they unpack and it's like a
Yes.
puzzle. And being a
Yes.
born intuitive and
Yeah. Same.
psychic, I go ahead and I don't give the answers, but
Yeah.
it allows me to ask better
Mm,
questions,
so good.
unpack, and just
Yeah.
and allow them to take the lead,
Yeah.
and be the authority because
Yeah.
they must be the authority in their life if they want anything to follow. Money's going to follow authority.
Yeah.
Everything's going to follow authority. If you are
Yes.
not the authority in your life, nothing will follow you.
Ooh, that's such a good, like a powerful way to think about it is, where are you giving your power away?
Yeah,
Yeah.
if they need that external validation all the
Yes,
time,
totally.
their power is going that way, and they're running
Yes.
after it, like cycling up and trying to find
Yes.
it. So
Yeah.
standing, whether it's right or wrong in your decision, make the decision
Yes.
and then learn from it.
Yeah. Ooh, I think that's so powerful too, that in your one-on-one coaching,
Mhm.
you're intuitively guided to help them tap into their intuition. So it's
Right,
kind of like because you're tuned in, you can ask them better questions and they can find that answer,
right.
which I think is so empowering. Like I've
I
been
was
in
just gonna say,
coaching
yeah,
situations where it's
yeah.
like I have to go to them for all the answers, or I've been to psychics where it's like
Mhm.
they weren't teaching me how to do it myself. And I was
No,
like, had this moment where I was like, well, am I going to do this for the rest of my life? Where I'm just
yeah,
like outsourcing thy truth. And then I realized like
yeah,
that doesn't even have to be my truth. Like the
right.
answers that I was getting, it's kind of like, let's say they really are super tuned in
Yeah.
and they're the psychic and they're giving you the guidance that they see. I always tell people, if you like what you hear, continue on with the energy that you're in, right?
Yeah,
If you don't like what you hear, let's say you get a tarot reading or a reading and
yeah,
you don't like it, change your energy.
yeah.
Nothing is set in stone.
Well, we have free will.
Yes.
God gave us this free
Yes.
will, and
Yeah.
it's only guidance,
Yes.
and you can believe it or not
Mm.
believe it.
Yes.
I mean, it's all our greatest power is the right
Yeah.
to choose.
Yes.
And if they adapt that, if someone says, "Oh, it's going to be a terrible year," it's going to be a terrible year.
Yeah. I mean, you're
They're going to adapt that
manifesting.
mindset,
Yes.
and everything's going to follow. Or it's going to be a
Right.
super abundant year, and they start making choices from a place of
Yes.
abundance.
Yes.
It's going to be an incredible year, and they're going to be, "Oh, that psychic was right."
Yeah.
But
Right. Yeah.
but I stay away from readings
Mm-hmm.
these days. I stopped them about a year and a half ago
Yeah.
because people want that golden ticket,
Totally.
and I would give it, and I mean, it's as clear as day to me.
Yeah.
But
They have to follow it.
they have to follow.
Yes.
Well, they tend to second guess, and
Yeah.
it's not
Mm.
it's not so empowering
Yeah. Yes.
as them
true.
realizing
Yeah.
that, oh, wait a minute, I just got the answer. This is my truth.
Yeah.
That will set them on fire.
Absolutely.
The answer, it's kind of anticlimactic. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, is that all there is? Is that my
Right.
golden ticket?
Right.
Is that what my future looks like? And I'm like, wow,
Yeah.
it's power packed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Look at the energy involved in that.
Yes.
But it's going
totally.
to take the action. It's going to take the work.
Yes.
You have to put things
Yeah.
in motion. You have to be
Absolutely.
consistent to that commitment
Yeah.
of whatever's on the playing field. And I love universal laws. So
Yeah, me too. Absolutely. So I would love for you to speak on even just like wealth energetics. When we think about the energy of abundance,
Mhm.
is there anything that comes to mind when you're talking about the laws of the universe or how you kind of manifest in money in different ways? What does that look like for you? Do you have a process that you walk your clients through? I'd love to hear more about that.
Well, everyone's a little different, but
Yeah.
I'm big on navigating the laws and
Mm-hmm.
seeing where they show up.
Yeah.
But I think right now, especially right now, I'm utilizing a lot of the law of sacrifice. In order to make
Mm.
room, we have to give up the old
Oof.
thinking. We have to give up what we burden ourselves with,
So good.
and not just material things, but emotional things that have filled us up.
Yeah.
So I'm like, what are you willing to sacrifice? Are you willing to sacrifice that belief?
Yeah.
I'm never going to have it. Can you sacrifice that? Well, I've never had it before. Well, is that the truth? So,
Mm.
and finally getting to a place where they can open up, because you can't put them on the playing field, law of polarity, law of
Yeah.
abundance, a law of expansion, any of it, the subsidiary laws. You can't put
Yeah.
any of those into motion until they're willing to have the space. And if
Yes.
they're full, you've got to use the law of sacrifice. You've got to say, what are you willing to give up?
Oh my gosh, that is so good. And I think sometimes that can blindside people when they're they're having a spiritual awakening and all of a sudden their job, their friends, like things start falling away.
Yeah.
And it's almost like the universe is coming in and kind of like igniting that law of sacrifice
Yeah.
where it's like you can't unsee things that you've started
Yeah.
to see.
No.
I know that was my experience. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
like sorority girl turned shaman. Like, what's that about? Where it was
Yeah.
like, oh my gosh, all of a sudden I couldn't unsee certain things.
Exactly.
And it was
And you
like,
honored it.
and I honored it. But the people that I was around didn't get it. And I
Yeah.
really wanted them to. And then it made this friction where it was like, they're like, stop it, come back. And I'm like, I can't come here. And so it just, I suddenly realized, and having to kind of grieve some of those relationships
Oh, that's what people don't talk
that's
about.
what people don't
The-
talk about.
In this expansion and growth,
Yes.
we grieve. I mean, I've grieved 30-year-old friendships that no
Same.
longer aligned, but I could
So
no longer
hard.
deny
I
who I
know.
was.
Yes.
I cannot people please and show up and do this
Yes.
work.
Yes.
So I think that's so important. That safety, that ownership in here.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't align, it doesn't align.
So true. And how did you honor that grieving process for the person that's like, yeah, I'm there, but like, how do I do it? How did you honor that grieving experience?
Well, I was willing and I gave myself permission to feel it all. I didn't make myself wrong. I didn't shame myself that I wasn't enough or not a good friend or, everybody wants to say that, they've lost something and that they've done something wrong. There was nothing wrong.
Yeah.
But it's actually a sign if you're losing people along the way, it means, that you're growing, you're
Yeah.
expanding. And it no longer doesn't mean anyone has to be right or wrong.
Yeah.
It just means it doesn't serve you. It probably doesn't serve them.
Yes.
And there are people, there are our kitchen friends, our kitchen table friends, our living room friends,
Yeah.
and our porch friends, and they're just shifting. And if they don't fit at all, then you're required to know spiritually bypassing. You know this. You're
Yes.
required, and you must give yourself permission to feel.
Yes. Oh,
Feel it all, because and
Yes.
people don't talk about how much it hurts
yes.
to lose people that you've had
Yeah.
in your life for a very long time that you
Yeah.
still love.
Yes.
You can still love them, but you have to release them.
Yes.
And nothing stays the same. It's always energy is always evolving and changing, and you have to move with it.
Yes. you
Everything's
do.
moving.
Yes. And when you move with it, it creates that spaciousness. And all of a sudden,
Yeah.
a person comes in, money comes in, an opportunity comes in, and you're like, there would not have been space for
No.
that had I not released. When I had my son, I remember, all of a sudden it was like I was working in corporate. I had a baby. I had this passion project, and I was like, something has got to give. And it's like not my sanity anymore because that's about to give.
Yeah.
Like it's got to be something else. And I remember, then it was the corporate job, then it was the friends that weren't in alignment. And I had to go through that grieving process because I was like, it's not my baby and it's not my business baby.
Yeah.
So I just gotta, allow myself to feel it, to grieve it,
Yeah.
and to see what happens. And now I'm just like, oh, if I could go back and just hug that version of me and be like, it's gonna be so good though. I think that would have really helped her, Yeah.
I teach people now, to go back and honor every version of you.
Oh, I love
There's
that.
no right or wrong, but going
Yeah.
back to different stages and different stages that show up now in
Yeah.
scarcity, lack, or wherever that wound is, and just thanking them with
Yeah.
deep gratitude.
Yes.
There isn't a stage that I've gone through where I don't go back and say, thank you for getting me here.
Yes.
Thank you for getting me here. In
Yeah.
fact, I wrote a meditation last year that I'll be doing on my Italy retreat about that, about meeting yourself, your
Yeah.
future self. And it was a dream I had,
Yeah.
that my current self had met my future self. I mean,
Yes.
I woke up sobbing and I wrote
Yeah.
it down, but she just grabbed my hands and said, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for doing the work. And I
Oh my
I woke up
gosh.
sobbing. And
Yeah.
I mean, I saw the house. I know exactly the house I'm going to buy. I know exactly what it smells like. All my five senses were lit up. And
Yes.
I knew that at the time it was not a dream, that it was a visit.
Yes.
And,
Yeah.
a lot of people don't know what a dream or visit is, that realness
Yes.
of, I didn't even know where I was
Yeah.
when I woke up.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
I grabbed my phone, and I usually don't do that in the morning. And
Yeah,
I was
but you had
autoing it
to.
as much as I could
Yes.
to remember what it
Yeah.
was. And it was so powerful.
Yes. Oh my goodness, that is so beautiful. And I would love for you to talk about your retreats, by the way. So
Oh.
what are your retreats like? Like if someone is like a woman is like, I want to
Mm.
go to one of these retreats. Let's say she goes to the one in Italy. Tell us about that retreat. What does she like start with? What does she end with? I know there's a
Mm.
version of her before and after this retreat. So share
Yeah.
with us more about this.
Well, I believe that another country, there's something
Mm,
magical about that that
yes.
happens,
Yeah.
especially when women travel alone. I don't care
So
what age you
true.
are. I mean, I've had women in their 20s. My last retreat, well, my last year was a lot of one-on-ones in
Yes.
Italy, but
Yeah.
most of the time it's a group
Yeah.
in a villa, and they're anywhere mid 20s to late 70s,
Yeah.
and it's all divinely guided.
Yes. Of
But
course.
my job is to utilize that country, the food, the
Mm,
history,
yes.
the money, the oldest streets in
Mm,
Venice, where the traders are, to utilize all that in their stories
mm,
to break them free
yeah.
of what holds them back.
Oh, that's so
And so
powerful.
they leave with so much freedom.
Yeah.
I incorporate music, food, all of it. There's
Mm,
nothing off the table for me,
yes.
including goddess ceremonies and
Yes.
15th century chapels.
Ooh. Oh
Yeah.
my God, I got body chills for you on that.
Yeah,
These retreats are
yeah.
so
Oh, yeah,
good.
with crowns that I've handpicked
Yes.
with yeah,
Wow. Oh my
yeah,
goodness.
with
So,
crystals. Yeah, that I've
of
had made for
course.
them. Yeah.
Okay, we need to talk about this
Yeah.
after.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm there. So, what would you say to someone who is thinking about doing, let's say, retreats or thinking about doing like their next version of their business, and they're like that fear or the story around if I build it, will they come? Because with retreats, you have
Yeah.
to think about like you're paying
Uh-huh.
for stuff ahead of time.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? It's kind of
Yeah.
like an investment in
Yep.
like what you see
I
possible in
remember
your
my
mind's
first
eye.
one.
Tell me about that. Yeah. How did you get through? How did you
Well,
break
the
through it?
story was I
Yes.
told myself, you
Yeah.
don't have a sphere of influence that can support
Mm.
this.
Mm.
You're not going to be able to support this level of
Mm.
investment.
Okay.
And it sold out within a month.
Wow.
And I played small. I just
Yeah.
chose 6 women and
Uh-huh.
boom, it sold out.
Yes.
So, and then it was an incredible, I love the villa I chose in Florence.
Yeah.
And then I took them to Venice, and I take them everywhere because
Yes.
it's important for them to
Yeah.
experience
Yeah.
Italy, and I want them to experience Italy.
Yes.
But my story was the first one, and there's, my luggage didn't come, my swag bags got
Yeah.
stuck. I mean, I had
Yeah.
$15,000 worth of swag
Of
bags
course.
stuck in customs that
Of
got shipped
course.
back 2 months later.
Oh my goodness.
Everything went wrong,
Yeah. Yeah.
but I showed up.
Yes.
And I showed up with men's sweats. I have big feet. They don't sell my size shoe over there.
Yeah.
And women's,
Yes.
I had to wear men's tennis shoes.
Yes.
And I decided I was going to cook.
Yeah.
And I didn't read Italian. I don't know how to use Fahrenheit.
Yes.
Everything was wrong.
Yes.
But I showed up and I
Mm.
did things that I didn't know I was capable in. And the
Yeah.
women in that kitchen, in that 15th century villa that cooked
Yes.
before me, just guided. I just trusted
Yeah.
that I was there for a reason.
Yeah.
And I didn't care how I looked. Nothing went right, but it
Yeah.
was the most grounded, beautiful retreat. The women still reach out and say,
Yeah.
I got to see a version of you that
Oh,
was, I just show up. It wasn't
yes.
about glam, and it was it was a beautiful villa, but it was
Yes.
about showing up and delivering and connecting
Yeah.
and swimming, sometimes naked at midnight in that
I
beautiful
love it.
pool,
Beautiful.
under
Yes.
moonlight.
Oh,
It was
so
so
purifying.
exactly what it needed to
Yeah.
be.
Yes.
So as I've evolved, they get a little bit, but I think it's the
Yeah.
energy of women connecting
Mm.
and willing to be vulnerable, willing to get
Yes.
up in the middle of dinner and dance to the
Yes.
live music, and
Yeah.
giving themselves once again permission
Yeah.
to show up for them.
Yeah.
I'm facilitating it all. Can
Right.
you show up? Will you let go?
Yes.
What are you afraid of?
Big one.
Yeah.
Will you let go?
Yeah.
What
Who's
are you
going to
afraid
judge
of?
me? Should I dance in the middle of dinner? Are you
Mm.
watching? Who
Yeah.
cares who's watching?
Exactly.
Yeah, get naked,
Yes.
jump in the pool, do what you need to do, as long
Yes.
as, we're not disturbing
Right.
the neighbors, but there are no neighbors where I choose.
Of course.
We're in the middle, we're the top of a hill in Venice.
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh, that's
you
perfect.
want the freedom
Yes.
for transformation. Transformation doesn't happen without freedom
Yes, I totally agree.
and the permission.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I've seen my retreats in my mind's eye and very
Ah,
similar where it's like it needs to be like no neighbors.
yeah,
Let yourself fully release, let it
yeah,
go. I see the somatic releasing, of the women
yeah,
just like letting go, unraveling and finding themselves through
yeah.
that. I mean,
Yeah.
so powerful.
Well, they leave a different version.
Oh, they
And,
do.
I use so many different things. There's massage and sound bowls and as many
Yes.
experiences as I can do, I
Yes.
will do.
Yeah.
But it's the connection and the
Mhm.
stories
Mhm.
and, and I do one-on-one work there as well.
Yeah.
But it's the collective.
Yes.
There's an energy that starts to take shape.
Yes.
And you're watching it.
Yeah.
And, when they first get there, you see the egos. I don't like her. She got a bigger room. Da, da, da. I didn't get my role.
I
I
love
mean,
the egos as
yeah.
they
Oh,
come
yeah.
out,
Oh, yeah. And,
Yeah. Uh-huh.
but I stay in this non-judgmental,
Yeah.
non-reactive
Yeah.
space of what could she be teaching you?
Yes.
What if
Absolutely.
you shifted this? Or what if,
Yeah.
and I think giving all the
Mm.
possibilities on what is available to them there. But
Yes.
their mind has not allowed that yet. So
Yes.
by the time they leave,
Mhm. They're in curiosity.
well, not just curiosity, they're just broken open. You see
Oh,
the
yes.
weeping and the,
Yes.
of they're there when they first get there,
Mm.
they're just like, yeah,
Yes.
exactly. Yeah,
Because
I'm
this is
just like,
me before and after retreats.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, but yeah, it's
Yes.
everything is a check mark. And when they leave,
Yes.
it's like, it doesn't matter.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're just so connected
Yes.
to themselves,
Mhm. Mhm.
which I think is the most intimate relationship you're ever going to have is with you.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Like you said, knowing yourself, knowing
Mm.
that you went from the sorority girl to this
Yes.
spiritualist and
Yes.
connection, and you just had to be. You just had
Yes.
to.
I had to. I had no
Yeah.
other choice. Once I
Yeah.
saw it, I couldn't unsee it.
Yeah.
And I was like, I
Exactly.
have to follow it.
Yeah.
I don't know where this is taking me, but we're just going to go for it. I kept
Ah,
having to,
yeah.
follow what lit me up. I think there was it was a full year of just studying where it was I'm curious about Reiki, I'm curious about shamanism, I'm curious about breath work, all
Yeah.
these modalities started falling in my
Yeah.
lap, and I was like, I don't know, teach me. And it felt like a remembering
Yeah.
every time
Yeah,
I
you were totally
tried
being
on a
guided.
modality.
Yeah,
Yes, every
just
time I tried on a modality, it was like, yes, I remember this. I've done
yeah.
this in past lives. Yes, yes, yes. So it just felt like it all started coming back online, and it's never done. So I'm just so excited to see what's next with the evolution of modalities and channeling and all of it. It's so
Yeah, what
fun.
is next?
Mm. Yeah, retreats. I see that for me for sure.
Mhm.
Retreats in
Where at?
person. Yeah. Where
Where
at?
at? Let's just
I
play really
see.
quick.
Let's do
Where at?
it. Oh, I love this. Sedona.
Ah,
Yeah. But I also see Italy. As you were saying Italy, I was like, oof. But I think we start in Sedona. That feels really powerful. I've had some of my greatest breakthroughs in Sedona. There's something about that red dirt that just I just want to rub it on my body.
yeah.
It's just there's something there.
Oh, yeah. My first retreat was in Sedona
Mm.
and the Enchantment Lodge and the Vortex. And
Yeah.
there's, I think magical things happen there because there's
Yes.
so much presence and energy. But
Yes.
you're right. It's a world of its own.
It is.
Yeah.
It was so wild. Even when I went before and after, it was so I went on this Sedona retreat. It was like a shaman initiation.
Mhm.
And I went on this retreat, and actually it was more it was me and another girl and our shaman. And it was so powerful. I mean, just massive breakthroughs. I felt so tuned in, so tapped in. It was amazing. And then I land back home. And this is where I think integration is really important after retreats, because I land back home. And this is a moment in my life where diagnosed ADHD, taking Adderall, these things. And I'm like, oh, I ran out of my prescription. Let me refill it. And I had to call 12 CVS's. I'm like, okay, if this isn't a slap across the face that's telling me it's time to release some of these 3D things that are no
Yeah.
longer in alignment,
Yeah.
I don't know what is. So it was a really powerful realization of the transformation happened there. And when I started to integrate back home too,
Mhm.
which I know you do with your retreats too, that integration piece is so powerful.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Not
Yeah.
only for them, but for me too.
Hmm.
Because I'm altered afterwards.
Yes, of
But
course.
I tend to always travel. I go
Yeah.
usually up the Amalfi Coast,
Oh, amazing.
and I will stretch
Yeah.
and push myself to something that
So good.
my subconscious has held on to that
Yeah.
I might be afraid of. So,
Yeah.
I mean, last time I did my retreat. Well, yep, it was last time. My dad drowned when I was 30, so I noticed that I don't get in boats. Now
Yeah.
that was very subconscious
Totally.
that I
Yes.
avoid that, but I noticed that anything I'm invited on, I
Mhm.
don't go. Oh, I don't really
Yes.
like boats, but the fact of the matter was I was very frightened to get on a
Absolutely.
boat.
Yeah.
So I finished the retreat and I integrated. I went up the Amalfi Coast. A 27-foot boat
Yeah.
is very small
Yeah.
at dusk to
Yes.
fly across to Positano
Yeah.
and come back and it's pitch black and you're flying through the water I'm sobbing.
Yes, you're
I mean,
like, what if I say yes to?
I'm
Yes,
terrified.
yeah, yeah.
I'm terrified and
Yes.
sobbing. I mean, it's all coming out.
Yeah, yes.
And I mean,
The
the guy,
somatic release.
exactly. And the driver, he was young and it's loud and it's dark. He couldn't
Yes.
see,
Oh,
but I am literally
yes.
hysterical.
Yes.
And the release was transformational.
Absolutely.
But you have to you have to put yourself in situations where you're required to feel.
Yes.
We can't hypothesize about this.
Right.
You have to do it.
Yes.
You know, when people say, well, what if that happens? Can you just like pull a card or see? I'm like, yeah, I can see.
Yeah.
I can already see.
Yes.
I know why you're here.
Yes.
But no, I won't. Because you know what? That's not going to help you.
Exactly. You got to feel it.
Yeah, you're
Yes.
required to feel.
You are.
You know,
Yeah.
and most people don't want to do that. Well, is there another way around that?
I know.
Yeah, no.
Yeah,
No.
for sure. Yes.
Grief
And
is something that's so transformational.
it's so transformational. And the wisdom codes that are underneath the feeling. It's
Yeah.
like there's so much wisdom. And we just have to move the big, like energetic, like barrier between us and what's underneath it.
Yeah.
And I find when I'm somatically releasing through tears or through shaking or breath work or whatever that might be,
Right.
the answer comes to the surface and I'm like, I'm free.
Yeah.
I can't believe it. All I had to do was feel.
Yeah.
We're so scared of feeling,
Yeah.
myself included, for so long.
Well, there's a story there.
There's a story
Somewhere along the
there.
way,
Yes.
it was you didn't
Yes.
give yourself permission to feel that,
Mhm.
and the body stores it. Every chakra.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to look at someone's life, you know, you can look at their body, their health,
Yes.
what they're storing in their body, and
true.
whether it be an ulcer or
Yes.
cancer or
Yes.
heart disease or the throat. There's
Yeah.
always you look at it and you're like, tell me
Yeah.
a story about that. Tell me the story about your life,
Yes.
and it'll unfold. And I'm like, there it is.
Exactly.
There it is. I love
Yes.
Louise Hay's book.
Me too.
Um,
Heal
yeah.
your body from A to Z.
Yeah. And I
Yes.
mean, when I found
Mhm.
her work, I had no idea that we were born on the same day and that we were that we were
Of
so
course.
and
Yeah.
that well, I knew she was a guide because she just kept showing up.
Yes.
And I'm like,
Of course.
this is so strange. And then
Mhm.
when they were celebrating her birthday, and I'm like, I didn't know.
Yeah.
I didn't know that we
Yes.
were but so internet
Wow.
connected, and why her work means so much to me.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
and aligns, and it's just
Yes.
like it's the truth.
It's
It's
the
like it
truth.
speaks the truth to me.
Yes. Yeah. For someone who's listening, Louise Hay's book, Heal Your Body from A to Z,
Yeah.
is all about like really connecting to what are the emotional reasons for the physical ailments that you're
Yeah.
experiencing in your body.
Yeah.
Like your body is telling the story of your soul. And so like where
Yeah.
are you experiencing pain? Is it in is it in the heart chakra?
Or the knees or
Yes,
the
or the
neck, and I'll
yes.
read it and give them
Yes.
a mantra, and I'll say, does that align with you? Yes. It's no one has
Uh-huh.
ever said that doesn't make any sense to me.
Right.
No one has ever
Exactly.
said that.
Right.
Like, no, that wouldn't be going on with me emotionally.
Right.
So, and I mean, it's actually, I
Mm.
didn't even know this book existed when I had the migraines,
Yes.
and I did heal myself, but the emotional component that was
Yes.
connected, totally on point.
Yes.
I wish I did have the book,
Yeah.
during that period of time.
Wow. Yes.
But that's our job to share it. Hopefully someone right now has got
Yes.
ailments and they're running out and getting that book. You know?
Yes. Oh, I 10 out of 10 recommend it.
Yeah, 10 out of 10.
It's a great jumping off point.
Yes.
And then sometimes I'll just even place my hand over that area of the body and say, body, if you could tell this story, what story are you trying to tell?
Yeah.
Just listen.
Yeah.
Sometimes it is about just listening to an intuitive hit that comes through. And I always say, like, let your imagination, for the sake of playing a game, be real for a moment and follow it and see what happens. I think so often our imagination was kind of been like, oh, that's your imagination. That's not real.
Yeah.
Let's play a game. Like,
Yeah.
let it be real for the sake of this exercise. Like, body, if you could tell the story of my soul, what are you trying to tell me? Whatever you see or hear or know, follow it, see where it takes you.
Right.
So powerful.
It's a beautiful
Yeah.
exercise, and most
Yes.
people don't trust that. The what if, where's it going to take me? They want to know.
Yeah.
And the fact is we never really know.
We never know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There is no guarantee. We don't know anything because
Yes.
the truth hasn't happened yet. It hasn't unfolded.
Yeah.
Anything could happen.
Yes. Which is what's so fun.
And anything great can happen. Most people are like,
Exactly.
well, what if I do this
I
and I could
know.
fall off the mountain? Well, what if you did it and you got to the top of the mountain and you just,
Yeah.
was everything you needed,
Yes.
I
And
just,
immerse your 5 senses in that, the top of
Yeah.
the mountain, like you did in your visualization, your
Yeah.
dream.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
All 5 senses just tapped into that moment, trying that on like an alter ego now, be here
Yeah.
now, lean into that now.
Yeah. And your consistency is to that commitment of and flipping the coin
Mhm.
to all the possibilities versus the choice of it'll never happen. You get
Right.
to choose whether
Yeah.
that's going to self-fulfill prophecy. One is going to be the truth.
Yes, absolutely. Oh, so good. So I would love to know too, when I was talking about those 3 levels of business, so we talked about the ideation stage. Was there something that you had to do differently when you went from ideation, right? Maybe some retreats in Sedona to now we're starting to scale. Was there anything that you did differently to scale your business? And then we'll talk about maintaining it. Because I think
Yeah.
sometimes to scale, people are like, I had to hire, or maybe there's something energetically that you did that might be a little, because I think you could
Mm,
put a fun spin on that. I think a lot of people talk
yeah.
tactics. I think that
Yeah,
you could
I was
talk
gonna say,
energetic.
yeah, most people talk tactics. I did
Yeah.
this and this was pragmatic, and
Uh-huh.
then I got a team.
Yep.
Yes, all those things are in place, but
Yep.
I really trusted my energy
Yes.
and what I
Amazing.
called in, and
Yes.
I made sure that my mindset
Yeah.
was always clean and
Yes.
clear. You must have clean, clear authority,
Yes.
and that means your self-talk
Yeah.
and what you believe is what you believe is going to happen. If
Yes.
I am terrified of money
Mhm.
and I never vocalize that,
Mhm.
but I have my high low and
Mhm.
I just can't seem to break that 6 figures.
Yeah.
And I'm never going to break that 6 figures because my belief system is I'm not good with money. And that means if I ever hit 7 figures, what am I going to do with it? Who's going to, and people are going to know that I'm not good with it. I mean, there's the stories go off in this, and this
Yes.
is why that subconscious is running 95% of our
Yes.
programming. I
Yes.
just consciously say things out loud.
Oof, so
I'm
good.
really great with
Yes.
money. I
Yeah.
reprogram it because we speak our life into existence, and I take it a second level. I speak my life
Mm.
into existence.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. If I'm ever having a moment where I'm like, man, I'm just feeling low, I will like it, and this happened just last week. I'm doing laundry, I'm feeling a low vibration.
Yeah.
And I was like, what if I just said out loud, Christina, I'm so proud of you. I'm taking it
Yeah.
from the washer to the dryer. I'm
Yeah.
so proud of you for how you showed up for Will. That's my son. When he was having a
Yeah.
tantrum, Christina, I'm so proud of you for.
Mhm.
I felt totally different at the end of that, where I was like, wait just a minute. Like, if I just allow myself to connect to the things that feel good, that I'm proud of myself for just a minute, I was totally different by the end of it. I was like, wait a minute. I feel good. I feel good again. And now creative
Yeah.
solutions are flowing. Like,
Yeah.
we attract the energy that we're in. So, like they say, when it rains, it pours,
Yeah.
right? So, when there's sunshine, let there be more sunshine, or create the sunshine, like you said.
Yeah.
I love that energetic piece of advice for scaling. Get really conscious of the internal dialogue and start to shift it out loud.
Right.
So good.
And utilize the law of sacrifice because
Mm,
even the law of polarity, what we desire is not going to happen, even though the answer is available to us.
mhm.
If the playing field is so full
Yeah.
of what needs to go.
Yes.
So giving yourself permission to utilize the law of sacrifice and say,
Yes.
my negative thinking, I'm going to surrender that.
Yes.
I'm going to surrender
Mm,
the negative thoughts that I
yes.
utilize. I'm going to surrender all the clutter. I'm
Yeah.
going to surrender every morning that I wake up, I get on social media
Yeah.
because it doesn't support
Yeah.
what I'm building. And you have to ask, is the life, I mean, we don't need a crystal ball
Right.
to see where we're going. All
Yeah.
you need to look at is someone's daily habits
Yes. So true.
and their daily thoughts. And you're
Mm,
like, I see. I see very clearly.
yes.
And let's shift this out. And what if you did this instead?
Yeah.
And what if you gave that up? A lot of people don't like to use the law of sacrifice
Mhm.
due to the fact that they've become attached
Yeah. Yeah. Mhm.
and there's safety in that. And there could be a safety wound and a fear of I'm not safe. If I gave that up, I'm not safe.
Mm.
So yeah, I go deep.
Yeah.
I would say
Me
in order to
too.
go high, we must go deep and we must
Yes.
unpack. And then I have to know when I work with a lot of therapists as well,
Yeah.
when to work with the therapist
Yeah.
alongside of there, or can I unpack and work through it? And are they making
Yes.
traction
Yes.
or are they
Absolutely.
stuck with the same story?
Yes. Oh, that's so good. It's so powerful when you start to really think about, you know, there is another way and we have
Yeah.
to go deep to start to experience that joy. I think about,
Yeah.
Marie Kondo, that idea of like, does this bring me joy? Not just with our closet,
Yeah.
but like all things. Like,
That's so powerful. Does this bring me
yes.
joy? And my question is,
Yes.
does it feel like love?
Oh, that's so good.
If it doesn't
Yes.
feel like love, I mean my clothes,
Yes.
my food,
Yes.
my
Oh,
work.
so good.
And,
Yes.
I put a video out about 4 years ago when I was going through a deep, deep, deep loss
Yeah.
and grieving.
Yes.
And I did the video. It was my first video diary, but
Yeah.
I'm like snot nosed and
Yes.
face
Somatic
down.
releasing. Yeah.
I just did it for me. But I
Yes.
eventually put it out there this year.
Yeah.
But I
Powerful.
say on the video, does this feel like love? And I said, no.
Mm.
No, this doesn't feel like love.
Mhm.
And at that moment, I knew what I had to surrender, and I knew the loss. The
Yeah.
grief was insurmountable.
Yeah.
Everything I knew to be true
Mm.
was shattered.
Yeah.
And I had to rebuild. At that moment, I could not see the future. There
Right.
was no way I could say, well, this is going to happen.
Right.
I had to stay present. Most people do not want to be still,
Right.
and they do not want to be present.
Mm.
But everything we're looking for is in the present moment.
Yes.
Everything.
Every single
It's
thing.
not in the future. The past
Right.
doesn't need you.
Yes.
The future is elusive
Yes.
at best.
Yes.
But all your power is in the here and the now.
So true.
And they just
Yes.
don't want to be here. They
Mhm.
just keep wanting to energy
Yes.
jump into the
Yeah.
future. Well, what if this? Well, wait a minute. Let's come on back.
Yeah.
Let's come on back because
Yes.
here's where it all happens.
Yes.
But if I just nope, we're back. I
Yes.
mean, it's just a program.
Yes.
And the program, and it's what we hear out there by comparison.
Yes.
We look at other people and we're like, well, if I just did that, then I could, boom, no, come on back here.
Yes.
Your energy, your vibe, your
Yes.
tribe, all of it. you know?
Yes.
I mean, if I tried to be you
Mhm.
and I love what she does, I'm going to do that out there.
Mm.
And we have so many similarities.
Yeah.
I wouldn't attract anything
Right.
because it's your gig,
Right.
and
Yes.
people that I work with, I see, I'm like,
Mm.
oh, no. You can hijack my website, all of it. You're
Yeah.
not going to get the results you want because
Exactly.
your energy is unique, and your tribe and who you're going to attract is about you,
Yes.
and I want to help them find that.
Yes.
Don't do what I do.
Mhm.
It's never going to work for you. But what
Yes.
you do is going to work for you.
Yes.
And you don't want to do what I do anyway. I
Mhm.
mean, I'm just I'm just my own brand of
Yes.
uniqueness, and I just do whatever I want to do.
I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, I said yes like 900 times as you're saying. I'm like, yes.
Yeah.
But it's so true.
Yeah.
And by mistake, I mean, I learned it was such an opportunity where I was taking what my business coach was doing, trying it on for size. She's
Yeah.
making seven
We
figures
all
doing
do it. We all
Yes.
do it.
And I'm like, why am I making like 12 cents? Like, what's happening? I'm
Yeah.
like, I made $300 doing the thing that she's
Yeah.
making her 7 figures. Literally. I'm
And,
like,
and
what?
what's wrong with me?
I was all
and
the
then we make ourselves
stories.
wrong.
Exactly.
What's wrong with me? I'm not
Yep.
good enough. I
Yeah.
just can't do it.
Yeah.
And
It
it's not true.
It's not true. I just wasn't building it in alignment with my soul. So my
Yeah.
soul was like, let's not scale this. That's not good.
Yeah.
You're not going to have the vitality to show up for that every day.
No.
You don't want to do that. So of course I was like
Yeah.
basically pushing people away to not
Yeah.
step into the offer because I didn't really want to serve in that way.
Exactly.
So good.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And if anybody looks at you and says, "Oh, she's doing so great," then I'm going to do what she. No,
Right.
it's how you found your rhythm,
Yeah.
and people will align. I always
Yes.
say they're going to find you,
They will. They absolutely will.
and yeah,
Oh,
there's a law of abundance. People that are, and I find this a lot with coaches. I'm never going to find a client. Where do you find? And they're going to find you.
Oh,
They're going
100%.
to align with you,
Yeah.
and
It blows my mind every time it happens. I'm like, oh, yay.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I have that little sign behind my desk that says "Trust the process."
Yes.
And it keeps me in the faith and the grounding within the knowing.
Yeah.
I don't ever get frightened
Yes.
about anything. I just know it'll support me.
Mhm.
And every year that I do this, and I'm always shocked when my team says, "Oh my gosh, look what you've done this year." I'm like, "I did?"
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I should be more focused on it, but I'm not. It's not the way I work.
Exactly.
Maybe someone else works very differently.
Right.
And I just honor that. But for
Yeah.
me, this works beautifully.
Yes. Yes. And follow what gives you the vitality to keep showing up in your day to day.
Like, there's no right or wrong.
there's no
it's just,
right or
it's just how
wrong.
you need to do it for you.
Yes.
But if you try to alter it and say, I'm going to do it like she does it because it's better, it's
Mm.
better.
Right.
Yeah. Back in ego energy, better, worse, judging,
Right.
good, bad, better, worse.
Comparison.
Yeah. Comparison, division,
Yes.
contraction.
Mhm.
The soul just wants to expand. The heart just wants to be
Mm.
here and expand in that expansion. And the
Yes.
heart never asks, what's wrong with this?
Right.
It just says, does this feel like love?
Yeah. So would you say that the heart energy is a way that you can connect to your intuition? So for someone who's trying to kind of connect to what does intuition feel like, or because exactly to your point, we want to be in the here and now. We want to be
Right.
present. So how does someone then know when they're in the present moment? First of all, I think that does start to tackle some of the intuitive part. We have to be here to see the flashing green light, you know?
Right.
So I think getting present really allows us to tap into our intuition. But how would you kind of guide someone into like better understanding or knowing that it's their intuition for someone who might be newer to that?
Well, that's a really good question. How we know that we're not in the present moment is the ego protects the past. Think of it as the maze.
Yeah.
So we've got this maze, and it's like anything new that comes along, it wants to protect you. It's
Yeah.
armor.
Yeah.
So it alert, alert, alert. Back here, it
Yeah.
wants safety. It wants
Yes.
contraction. It wants to control, judge. So when you feel that,
Mhm.
you know that you're not moving forward.
Mhm.
And all that may be there is a terror barrier, about like this.
Yeah.
And on the other side of that is newness.
Mm.
And so the body, the ego is going, alert, alert. It's
Yeah.
new. I don't know it. I don't know how to
Right.
handle it.
Yes.
When it could be everything you need.
Yes.
So you have to be willing to take those micro steps into that and trust that anything new is going to be uncomfortable.
Yes. So true.
But I don't think it's any less uncomfortable than staying in the past,
So true.
living it over and over again like
Yeah.
Groundhog's Day,
Yeah.
and complaining, my life never changes. I mean, how many times my life never changes no matter what I do.
Yeah.
I
Yes.
can't get out of this circumstance
Uh-huh.
because you cannot use an old mindset in order to create a new life.
You can't.
You have got to create a
true.
new mindset, which is the uncomfortable stretch
Yeah.
of accepting something new.
So true.
Yeah.
Ugh. That's such a good answer. And I'm curious, is there anything that you've done? And I know that we're always scaling, we're always building, we're always evolving. But when we think about those 3 steps, the last one being maintaining, because sometimes maintenance is a little different than scaling energy.
Mm.
Is there anything energetically that you do to help kind of maintain and continue to evolve that level of success?
Release. I
Mm.
don't hold on to anything. I love the 4 agreements. So what came in automatically was the 4 agreements.
Yeah.
I take nothing personally.
Oh,
I'm not
so
attached. Yeah.
good.
I'm not attached to people
Yes.
that love me and think I've saved their life and
Yeah.
given them. I'm no more attached to that than I am someone that said,
Mhm.
this isn't worth it,
Right.
And I just had this happen. That was a learning curve. I didn't
Yes.
get what I wanted. She had
Yeah.
attachments,
Uh,
to what she thought.
Okay. Yeah.
And, I stayed out of it. Of course, I'm not going to react, but I held
Right.
space for her.
Yeah.
And actually, she came back around and is still working with me because
Amazing.
she understood her attachment to the outcome was
Wow.
strangling her,
Yes.
and it was never going to evolve. So I think for me, it's about continuing to hold space without judgment,
Yeah.
continuing to evolve with no big expectations on where I'm going, but
Yeah.
recognizing this expansion and stepping into it and being willing
Yes.
to be in this zone of newness.
Oh, so powerful.
Yeah.
Just so much of what you've been saying today has been resonating with me so deeply. I feel like I could talk to you for 12 more hours
Oh, yeah.
and
Yes.
beyond. So let's do that
Yeah.
offline.
Or beyond. Yes.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
So where can the listeners find you? Because I know they're going to want to lean into your magic even more.
Well, they can find me at danagrant.com, but on social media, the gram, as my daughters told me. And Mom,
Yes.
don't say Instagram or IG. And I'm like, oh, it's the
Oh
gram.
no, they're dating me now too.
Oh, yeah, it's
Okay,
the
cool.
gram.
Okay, no.
It's the real Dana Grant
Yes.
or Facebook. I will always answer. If people send
Yeah.
me a question, I'm going to answer it.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they can, find me.
Yes, amazing. Everyone who's tuning in, you absolutely have to connect with her. She is just pure magic on legs. I'm telling you, she is incredible. So thank you so much for tuning in, for giving us your most precious resource, your time. And until next time.